Let's talk some sports, Pete. But before we do, let's take a look at one of your favorite coaches, Campbell, up there in Detroit. He was looking at, Pete, one of his players. And I know you know the family and the player, but this kid's got the heart of a lion. And it was a game that they were going to lose, but he didn't want to come out. And he wanted to just go after some guys, and he did. So let's listen to Campbell describe that.
This, to me, embodies everything that St. Brown is about, because we're getting our teeth kicked in at the end of the game.
He's my favorite.
Out of the game, and he wants us to run the ball so he can freaking block, even though there's no way we're going to win that game at that point. Watch this fucker. All right? Watch this fucker. We're going to run it 3 times. End of the game.
Watch this fucker.
That means something. Here's the next one.
23 wasn't having any of it, so was he, Pete?
Life's great. You know what? You're not going to have a good time. You're not going to have a good time. He's out for fucking blood. Because the rest of those guys
He's out for blood.
This, have fun. But somebody's going to fucking get it.
Come on. Down here.
All right, here we go. Last blood. Watch this. Fuck you. Fuck you.
The kid's a competitor. The kid is a competitor.
That's fucking hard right there. This to me embodies
Campbell,
everything.
Campbell likes that. He likes that fighting spirit. He is not one of those guys that likes that these guys don't hit as much and all the rest. But I think the players really love him, Pete.
I think you're right. I mean, what's not to love? I mean, you got a coach who's already been there. He's been there, done that. And now they're playing for this guy who, when he started off, and it got a lot of people were very, very negative about the fact that he wanted people to bite kneecaps and all the rest of the stuff that he said. But the reality is, I think that the players think the world of this guy. They all want to play for him. There's a reason that you've got a guy who's a wide receiver who, in a game that doesn't matter anymore, still wants to be on the field, still wants to do everything because it's the Dan Campbell way. They're aggressive. They go after people, and they're nothing cheap shots. That's not part of it. I'm just saying that they're aggressive and they're physical. And that kid is jacked out of his mind. Anybody who saw Receiver on Netflix would know this is a great kid, comes from a really disciplined family. The dad is a pretty hard ass kind of a guy, and his kids are pretty good. You got one of them in Chicago that's not so bad either, John. So that's pretty cool. By the way, I was taking a quick look because I knew, but I wanted to check. They beat Kansas City game 1 last year, Super Bowl champs. They beat the Rams in the playoffs. They beat Tampa in the playoffs. And they went toe-to-toe with San Francisco, who arguably was the best team in the NFC, and they proved it by getting to the Super Bowl. But they gave them a hell of a game, John. They're this close in Detroit from getting back to a Super Bowl, I think. So we'll see how it goes, but the mentality that he brings to the game is something really, really special, and I think those players love playing for this guy.
Yep, there's no doubt. And Campbell, you and I should go up to a game in Detroit, I guess, Pete.
We should.
Yeah, it would be fun. And that is a loud stadium, man. You know, ever since they built the Silver Dome back in the day, which was loud, this one, Ford Field, louder. And those fans just love it. And they love that coach, too. Although they probably question that call in the San Francisco game, Pete, in the playoffs.
Yeah. It's just who he is, you know. I mean, that's the one thing I would defend him on is it's not like he just did that in that game and that was a mistake. Those are the kinds of calls that he made throughout the season as a coach or whatever. And so the players get to know it. And it's very similar to a lot of other coaches, you know, where maybe it's questionable, but that's who they were all year. And that's the way they wanted to go out. It just didn't work. If it worked, all of a sudden he's a genius, right? I mean, all of a sudden, holy smokes, that guy's unreal. John, I wanted to do one other thing that we did the other day that breaks down just one of the NFC and AFC in the South. And who do we think is going to be the winner? So here's what I got for you. Indianapolis, they've got Anthony Richardson, but the guy only had 4 games last year, so he's almost like a rookie coming in again. He's athletic. He's big. He's a heck of a quarterback. I think they're going to be good. I think Jacksonville's going to be even better because I think that they added just enough. Trevor Lawrence is doing a great job, but he throws too many interceptions, and that's something that he's going to have to get away from. He's done it 2 of the 3 years, just too many interceptions. It's not going to work. Tennessee, it's a really good football team, but they've got to get more offense. They weren't able to score the ball very well this past year. You know who's going to win that? It's going to be Houston. They're really well coached. They've got a great quarterback, and everything that they did in the draft to make their defense better the year before, last year, they did it again this year. They're adding even more to that defense. So check mark on quarterback, check mark on wide receivers, check mark on defense. I think Houston's going to be pretty damn good. And then on the NFC South side, you've got Atlanta with Kirk Cousins. He'll make them better, I think. New Orleans had a great draft, but I don't think that they're quite there yet. Carolina's terrible, so let's not even worry about that. I like my old Buccaneers, John. You know, every day of my life, I've got a Buccaneer right around my neck. There it is right there. Absolutely love what they did. And I'll tell you what, Baker Mayfield, for all of the headaches that he either has developed for people or the people that dislike him to the point where they just hate him, that kid's actually starting to show that he's a real NFL quarterback. And when you combine that with the defense and you combine that with an offensive lineman who was just paid an ungodly amount of money, the kid from Iowa, the great big tackle, I think that team is ready to kind of go to the next level. Last year they stumbled with Detroit. If they play against each other again, I don't even know. Predictive wise, I don't know. I think maybe Detroit, but Tampa's going to be right there.
Tampa will be, Pete. Atlanta is going to, you know, that's potentially going to be a really good team this year. Of course, they showed flashes of it, but they were short in a few positions. They've strengthened those.
Quarterback.
We'll have to see, you know, Kirk Cousins, of course. Is he good? Are he and Aaron Rodgers going to be able to overcome those two injuries? Because a lot of people will say that those injuries, and Kurt suffered his later in the year than Aaron did. Aaron's was on the fourth play of the game in the first game. But a lot of people think that injury used to be like an 18-month recovery, not a 12-month, not a one-year thing. But they've both undergone, I think, a lot of treatments that weren't available to prior players. But I think you're right. I like Houston. I like Miami's chances, Pete. I know they're not in the South. They're in AFC East, but I like their chances. And I would not overlook, and I know you're not, but I wouldn't overlook Baltimore because nobody wants to play them. Nobody.
Right. Nope.
Like
that defense is unreal. The quarterback is unbelievable, and Derrick Henry's not such a bad running back to have either.
Yep, that's like Detroit. You go into that game, you know you're going to be banged up for a week. Dan Campbell, man, I loved that. I think he is indeed, as you said, Pete, I think he's the man. And really look forward to what he's going to do with that team this year. And I think they're just going to build on it, Pete. So I agree with you. I think San Francisco, no slouch, but if they have to leave San Francisco and play in Detroit, I think it's going to be very, very tough on anybody that has to play in Detroit. I think the Super Bowl might run through Detroit this year, Pete, not San Francisco. We'll see. We'll see. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, folks. As you know, we do the Rebels Edge Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Yesterday we couldn't because we were traveling. Pete and I are out here at the Money Show and Traders Expo, keynoting tonight at 4:30. So if you're in the vicinity of the Paris Hotel and Casino, come on by, buy Pete a beer or whatever. And we will see you on Monday. Have a great one, everybody. 1 p.m. Monday.